Okay, show continues. You have our next speaker is Mr. Henrik Lagercrantz, and he's marketing automation, marketing tech superpower, the most wise nerd that I ever met, and also customers loves Henrik, and because I have to leave, Henrik will also be the host of the afternoon after me. But Mr. Lagercrantz, big hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Matti. We have audio, we have seen some dog pictures, and we were doing a little bit technical adjustments there. Thank you, everybody, for staying after that delicious lunch we had there. The rest of this kick-ass session will be all about managing and developing your marketing technology stack. As so elaborately presented by Matti, my name is Henrik Lagercrantz. I'm the VP of Technical Excellence at IDBBN, and we're going to be having I won't want to say a threesome here with a few other presenters, but we are going to be tackling this topic with myself, then with a case from Atea, as well as from a case with F-Secure from a little bit different aspects. And without further ado, let us jump into the deep end of the pool by starting with a little bit definitions of what are we actually talking about when we're talking about marketing technology stacks. And I think the easiest way to get our lingo aligned is to look at a few examples of industry leaders, how they have defined and created elaborate schemes of how their tech stack is all aligned beautifully together. And the first example here is from Cisco, a small startup from the United States of America. And what we have here is their marketing technical stack, or basically they call it digital engagement stack, where we have a whole bunch of different technologies, logos up there in the outer ring there. And how they have categorized their technologies is basically through their buyer funnel here. So awareness, intent, actually becoming a customer here, and then renewal. So the buyer cycle goes here from the inner circle to the outer layers. And then they have defined with these dots that which technologies are being used at which stages of the buyer cycle in here. And they have categorized this also into divisions by customer, by partner, seller, and data and operations here, which is then divided into 3 different categories there as well. And this basically communicates very powerfully the extent and the focus and the purpose of each technology that they're actually using in their operations. And here you can see which technologies are most omnipresent throughout the buying cycle here, and they have the data management platform BlueKai, marketing automation platform Eloqua, and then Salesforce here presented with 4 dots all across. So looks very simple and easy, might be a little bit more complicated at the very back end there. A little bit different example here from a company called Allocadia. They have divided their operations into 2 different segments here: running marketing and doing marketing. And what they mean by running marketing is all the thingamajigs that go on at your company when you're planning and doing communications internally. So this is all that operations going behind the scenes. And then here's the curtain, and here enter the customer or potential prospect here. And here we have the theater of what actually is going to be visible to that end, and then categorized basically that which technology is used in which phases of these 2 categories. And they have also grouped their technologies data acquisition and management, content creation, delivery, social engagement, and so forth. So tagging them for their function in there as well. The third example here, a little bit more of a simple landscape of technology, but what they have introduced here, an additional layer, is the two-way synchronization and one-way synchronization of data between platforms. So this is one information level more deeper that the previous ones were, because they are telling that, okay, which platforms are integrated with each other and what is the relationship between these platforms. This is basically also a funnel in a sense here, that this is where they start to build their traffic from, website conversions, nurturing flows happening here. Let's not jump ahead. And then web form conversions, entering data lake and Tableau. And the numbers here present which processes are run with which of these platforms. So I think Pointillist here makes an excellent point that basically we are talking about the collection of tools and programs that your company or organization is using to orchestrate and manage the customer experience with data, content, and communications. So thus, I think it's a very good point that instead of using the little bit off-putting term of marketing technology, Martech, we should call it customer experience management stack or customer experience technology, which already has a point to it, and it's much more relevant, and you can get people involved with your team that we're talking about customer experience instead of just plain old tech stuff. So I am going to be starting to stick with this term instead of the marketing technology. Let's see how well that transition goes over. But basically, how does one get to take control of that whole behemoth? Previous presenter Saara was talking about taming the beast. So definitely that's a monster beast to be tamed there, especially looking at the Cisco example. So how does one gain control of this situation, and why would one even want to take control of it? Here's a quick graph, plenty of these to be had in the interwebs, which all sing the same song, that business and all monies involved with marketing technologies, that is about to double or at least grow by 50% within the next 5 years, depending on how you categorize your technology areas. So in here, by Forrester in 2017, this is marketing automation segment, so doubling within the 5 next years. Basically, this is just a story that how technology is just coming into all of the processes and all the aspects of business communication and renewing competencies, capabilities, and everything within the business marketing communication. So basically, singing the same song of technology is taking over our lives and so forth. And in here, the rise of the CX manager as a job title is also one indication there that the customer experience is a very, very buzzword, has been for a while already. And companies are using customer experience as a revenue driver and a key differentiation factor when considering the much more advanced and much the competition landscape, which is getting fiercer and fiercer, IKEA and so forth. So also today, one cannot have a talk without mentioning GDPR, so must drop that in there. So if and when you have a holistic understanding of your marketing technology landscape, you of course then have the ropes in your hand to understand where your data sits, how it's been used, for what purposes, and where the risks in there might lie. But this is something that you all are probably already very, very, very on top of things, since tomorrow is the pop quiz coming up for everybody in there. But okay, how to then actually start to get control of your CX stack? So here we have a very, very beautifully crafted visualization of Microsoft's stack here, which, of course, a person without Adobe products, Photoshop, and all kinds of even better platforms cannot build by themselves, but do start from the place that you have a holistic understanding of which technologies you yourselves in your organization are using, how they relate to each other, and starting from basically the processes that you're currently managing within your organization, which tools are used in those processes, and what is the functional label of that tool, and what is it actually being used for. And also, in getting control of situations, what are the organizational functions that are contributing into these tools and processes? For instance, in those examples, we had those different divisions, so multiple different divisions might be using the same tools and so forth. And it's very, very beneficial to tie all of this technology together, as these examples have shown, into the buyer cycle, the funnel, or the buyer journey, in the sense that that creates familiarity to anybody you're trying to communicate that, okay, this is the situation, this is the landscape, a situation that is very, very likely to occur if you're renewing or doing anything, trying to manage that operation. You need to be able to communicate, this is the current situation, and you need to understand where you are there. So if you are in a situation, you have been there, done that, we have that mapped, and we have our ecosystem, well, the next level operation would be then defining that exactly, that which platforms are integrated with each other, and the third level in-depth operation would then be, okay, which data fields are actually going, being exchanged and integrated between these platforms, which would be then already like a system architecture description, quite close to that. But okay, if you arrive at a new company, a new position, as mentioned by Saara, there are these old, ancient Jurassic Park type of DOS systems lurking around in some organizations, and the CX stack has not happened overnight. So it might be a result of a tens of years of evolution, starting from DOS-based operations, which has its own evolution that you cannot have influenced prior to that. But you, to be able to succeed in your job, in your role, you would need to become the intelligent designer of that whole operation and the behemoth. So you need to tame the beast there. So how does one get from the situation that now I know where we are, we have our landscape here, we have these technologies used for these processes, how do I map out where are we going to go with this? Where am I going to develop? What are the key operations, and how to manage and lead this whole process and stack? So for this, of course, you would need a vision in the sense that, okay, where are we going to be taking this? And the key questions to ask there is that, okay, what are the main development or improvement areas within your organization? From strategy, from sales, you might have sales targets. You might want to include new new segments or new business areas. You might be expanding to new countries or anything. But look at what your organization in general, what are the processes there? What requirements for your organization? And if there's some functions that are completely missing, or you are failing at something, and your data and analytics are showing that, okay, we should be actually improving on this option, this gives you the information that, okay, this is the area of place where we are lacking in process or lacking in technology or something, that we need to focus on that. And then look at, okay, which technologies are we actually using in those areas? What are we leveraging there? And what is the actual current situation, why you have ended up in a situation where you might be failing or missing. So getting a good understanding of what has led to you to this situation and what is the direction that your organization and goals are driving you towards. And then looking at the tools in there that do the existing technologies meet the demand that you have for those processes. To do this, you then need to understand, okay, if we need to improve here, how would the improved process look like? So understanding how the whole operation would be run, then it's easier to design, okay, which tools can actually support our process instead of taking a tool that dictates how our process is being run. So basically, at this stage, It might be a case that you might not even need new tools. It might be a question of processes or people that can meet and reach those targets. But in a situation where you see, okay, we need to leverage more technology to be able to reach the desired effects, then you have basically two choices. Get new technology, replace old ones in that sense with new tools, or supercharge and amend existing technologies, which basically means adding new custom features, customization on top of the existing ones, which might be like a temporary solution or enable some more agile process development instead of embarking on a let us change a DOS-based system that is running this aerospace show here. So that might be quite a long process to run, so it's always worth considering. And of course, new technology, new processes, which internal stakeholders do you need to be consulting to get feedback from and understand how they are tied into the whole operation. Inevitably, you will run in a situation, okay, we are going to be needing new technology for this, and this is the landscape we're currently in. What is the best fit for us, for this purpose, for this process? These are the things that you should be considering. I'm going to raise out a few points here as key components. As you are looking for components that will fit your current landscape, integration capability of that new tool compared to the integration requirements that your processes and the landscape that the functions that you are taking that tool in to manage. There is for sure situations that you are going to be needing this and this information inside this tool to be able to automate certain things, to be able to leverage information that you have. So making sure that you understand where that critical data that this is going to be sitting very close with, where does that sit and how does the integration capabilities there look like. Also, new tool onboarding, of course, the tool user interface and the usability, the user experience of using that tool itself for the staff members or yourself, a very, very impactful criteria when looking at adoption rate or at the rate of which how successfully you are doing operations with that technology. So if you have a crappy user interface and your staff does not enjoy and like using that, then for sure you will see that at the bottom end and basically the hype cycle operation going on in there. Key components as well are the partners. So depending on the size, if it's a small webinar platform contrasted to a CRM renewal or an ERP platform replacement, partners play a crucial role in either the onboarding part or then the continuous operation. Smaller technologies you yourself can of course take on board, but do consider partners in the sense that if onboarding or the continuous support is needed, do vet your partners very, very well and ask references and what do other people say. Do they have the expertise? Are they in the correct segment and so forth. Scalability in the sense that if your organization decides to adopt that specific tool in a more broad context, let's say a new business unit, a new country. I'm breaking stuff here. So you do need to take into account that what happens to the usage of that tool if instead of 2 users, we have 20 users. If instead of 1 country, we have 5 countries and 5 sets of data. How will that become? Will that become a chaos or will that be managed accordingly? And thus data storage, privacy policies, where's the data actually stored and what are you saying where you store your data in your policies? Of course, pricing might be a small impact in there, but definitely the model plays a crucial role that same technologies might be in very, very different price points per different organizations depending on the model with which that pricing is constructed in general. Of course, there's the onboarding project and the data migrations, which were already basically addressed by Saara in the sense that replacing an old DOS system with a fully new one, as it's already running all kinds of operations, it might be a much, much bigger operation than just adding a small new webinar platform, for instance. But as mentioned, integrations very, very crucial in orchestrating your tech stack. Integrations have also been mentioned as the number one pain point for managers when looking at their orchestration and their data leveraging, in the sense that wanting to become data-driven or insight-driven organization, they might have the individual tools, they might have even the data, but it's been investigated over and over again, and we did our own survey of marketing automation in that context, and it all say that integrations between platforms is one of the highest pain points for just about all organizations. And especially this aspect needs to be considered when onboarding new technology into an existing landscape. So we have here 5 most common types of integration categories here. Each tool, especially if it's a cloud-based solution, usually offers already a handful of built-in connectors that our product is out of the box integratable into this and this platform. For instance, in marketing automation platforms, they have built-in connectors to some social media outlets as well as CRMs. So these are like a point-and-click tools that allow you to do an integration without nobody doing any coding of any sorts. Then we have a whole different beast here, the integration middleware, which is basically third-party software which becomes then an own logo on your ecosphere there. So it's separate technology with a separate cost, which allows you to integrate multiple platforms with each other and do perhaps even a data synchronization in the middle there. So this integration middleware could be actually used for the entire platform integration operations that you're managing, not just point to point. So you might have a situation where, for instance, looking at the Cisco example there in the beginning, that's probably a result of tens, if not 100 integrations going on in there. So you might not want to do point to point, but you might want to definitely leverage an integration middleware software there. Then, of course, custom programming, you take system 1, system 2, and throw in a developer and say that to make these things talk to each other, and here are the fields that you need to be making them exchange. So this is creating a custom program looking like a DOS-based operation running on a server, which does exactly that integration for that specification on the intervals that you define it, but it's usually just one system talking to each other. And then we have this little bit lo-fi operations here, file swaps in batches, either automated or manually operated. So using the APIs of those software, it takes a bunch of data and it exchanges it between others, so automated or manually operated. One operation or one model that's missing here is integration as a service. So you might be able to purchase integrations as a running operation from some companies with utilizing their own software there. But basically, this was my introduction into the topic of marketing technology, customer experience, stack management. Next up, we have Hanna Vesenterä from Atea, who is a very, very experienced global attention-reaching marketing legend who basically has her feet in 2 different domains. There's a marketing strategy and there's the technology strategy, and she's kicking the ball left and right. Definitely, I want to quit my mumbo jumbo and let the actual experts speak. So please give a big hand to Hanna